The freighter Never Late slid through hyperspace, starlines stretching and bending around the hull. On the bridge, Captain Ramon lounged in his chair while Nerissa stood beside him, eyes tracking tactical overlays. Only 2 jumps remained. Nerissa remarked that trusting a nameless noble was a dangerous habit. Ramon grunted, saying credits were usually enough to inspire trust. From the rear, Gabriel said nothing. For him, trust was no longer a currency worth spending. The navigator reported light traffic and no patrol signatures nearby. Gabriel calmly advised staggered sensor bursts, noting that predictable scans invited trouble. Nerissa smirked at the suggestion, teasing that paranoia came naturally to exiled nobility, while Ramon simply replied that the crew already lived that way. Deep within the lower decks, 10 massive crates sat magnet-locked to the cargo bay floor. Their surfaces were unmarked, save for deliberately dull serials meant to avoid attention. Reginald circled them with a scanner, muttering that there were no power cells and no ammunition. The weapons were clean, too clean. Delcane crossed his cybernetic arms and reminded him that clean did not mean safe. When Gabriel joined them, he quietly observed that the craftsmanship pointed toward noble workshops or guild subcontractors paid well enough not to ask questions. Reginald looked unconvinced, but Gabriel reminded him that money had a way of smoothing such doubts. Later, alone in his tiny office, Gabriel sat with his hands steepled, listening to the honest creaks and murmurs of the ship around him. Those sounds grounded him more than he cared to admit. His thoughts, however, were far from calm. Patrols had failed to stop him. Bounty hunters would be the next logical step. His father would not relent. Opening a star map, he traced unofficial routes and escape vectors, already planning beyond the current job. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts, and Captain Ramon stepped inside. The captain remarked that Gabriel had the look of someone expecting trouble. Gabriel replied that trouble was always thinking about them. Ramon reiterated the plan: get in, get paid, get out, prompting Gabriel to politely suggest that contingencies were never wasted effort. Machasis soon filled the viewport, its surface a lattice of lights beneath drifting cloud bands. An encrypted burst arrived, delivering rendezvous coordinates almost immediately. Nerissa noted how fast the response had been, and Ramon agreed that it felt wrong. Gabriel studied the data and identified the location as a Lagrange shadow, ideal for discretion, but equally ideal for ambushes. The Never Late cut thrust as darkness swallowed the stars. Another vessel emerged from the shadow, sleek and matte black, its hull bristling with passive arrays. The reply to Ramon's hail identified it as a House Kyogo courier, transmitting a noble crest that was old, precise, and deliberately understated. Gabriel's jaw tightened as he pointed out compression artifacts in the visual feed, live but relayed. Someone else, he warned, was watching. The transfer proceeded quickly. Mag clamps locked and released with dull thuds as Kyogo personnel worked with efficient detachment, never lingering longer than necessary. Credits transferred in silent, heavy blocks. When confirmation came through, it showed a full 3 million credits. Ramon admitted that Gabriel had been right to push for more. Gabriel did not smile. A sudden flicker across the sensors shattered the fragile calm. Multiple long-range microsignatures appeared on approach. Nerissa asked if it was a patrol, but Gabriel answered quietly that they were hunters, or something wearing the same face. Moments later, 3 ships slid into view, guild transponders broadcasting. Bounty hunters. A hail revealed a scarred woman speaking with professional detachment. She was searching for a missing noble and had no intention of delaying them without reason. Silence stretched. Gabriel stepped forward and asked to speak. He calmly reminded her that guild authority had limits and their transfer was legal. Any interference would be noticed. She observed he spoke like one who knew the law. Gabriel understood discretion. She replied that the guild valued discretion too. The bounty ships peeled away. Nerissa finally released her breath. She remarked how close it had been. Ramon turned to Gabriel and noted that he hadn't denied anything. Gabriel answered simply that he hadn't needed to. The Never Late burned hard as it slipped back into open space. The cargo hold now stood empty, while the crew moved with renewed urgency above. Gabriel returned to his office and closed the door, staring at his reflection, Victor to the crew, Gabriel to himself. The hunters were closer now, he knew, but so was his goal. Beyond the hall, unseen currents shifted as nobles tightened their schemes, hunters adjusted their courses, and weapons changed hands. The game had entered a faster, deadlier phase.